Today, I welcome all of you. I'm Olga Tamanova, and the media center Ukrinform is beginning its work today. This is the 9th year of the war, and it is the 143rd day since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Russian aggressor to our land. So today, our team has prepared for you the following events. At 12 p.m., we will be in touch with Serhiy Haidai, head of Luhansk Oblast Military Administration. We will be speaking about the security situation in Luhansk Oblast. At 1 p.m. we will be joined by Dmitro Butry, acting head of Kherson Oblast Military Administration. We will be speaking about the situation in Kherson Oblast. And just now our speaker is Vadym Boychenko, mayor of Mariupol. And we will be speaking about what is going on in Mariupol. Vadym, please, hello. We welcome you here. And let us begin with what is now taking place in the city. We can see the permanent so-called tours of the representatives of different authority branches of Russian Federation in Mariupol. Even the representatives of creative industry have come to Mariupol and now are looting with the entrance tablets. So what are the plans of Russia? What is happening now? Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that we don't care how Russia is feeling and what it is saying. First, I'd like to say that we are almost having the 5th month of the war, and I'd like everybody to understand equally what is Russia remembered by from the perspective of this ruining, horrible war. First of all is ruining. As for Mariupol, we can see that they unfortunately for 50% have burnt the city and just transformed it into ashes. So if we can see 2,600 multi-storied buildings which we had in the beginning of war, then 1,356 were burnt to dust. Those buildings do not exist anymore. Secondly, what Russia will be remembered by from the perspective of the state of Ukraine and our heroic city of Mariupol as well. Murders. That is, if we look and pose the question how many people were killed by Russian Federation in Mariupol, we should compare how many people were killed by fascists during 2 years of occupation, 1941 to 1943, a bit more than 10,000. And what about these 2 months of this heavy shelling? How many people were killed by Russian occupiers? A very approximate figure, almost 22,000 of killed local population. If we compare 22,000 of the killed people, that is a very approximate figure. Why do we say so? Why do we consider so? Because 1,356 buildings, and if we at least imagine that in each of these buildings there were approximately 50 people, then the figure will be changing, and it is scary. So we are just registering the figure which we can do as the representatives of the authorities. An approximate figure is 22,000 of killed, 2 times more than the fascist killed during the 2 years of occupation. The Russian occupiers killed 22,000 during 2 months. What else Russia will be remembered by? A third important point is looting. They just take whatever they see, from metal, which was produced by our metallurgists. By the way, this weekend we had the Day of the Metallurgist, and they stole the manufacturing production which had the name of Ukrainian, and this manufacturing products was also had the port of destination, that is the realized and sold products which belongs to other states. So they don't steal from Ukraine only, they steal metal from the states where it had to go to. So they're stealing grains, they're stealing the blackboards in the schools, they are stealing medical equipment, and the most important, the fourth thing, they are always lying. They are bringing that to Donetsk and say this is the gift from Russian Federation. The blackboard which they took from the wall of the school in Mariupol, which somehow was intact, they give it as a gift from Russian Federation. They take our artificial ventilation equipment, which was given by the fund of Rinat Akhmetov and other world partners, of this pricely equipment. They bring it to Donetsk and they say this is the gift from Russian Federation. So they are stealing and lying. And how is the life of the usual Mariupol resident in Mariupol today? We need to understand that nothing has changed. It used to be like this. This is the humanitarian catastrophe. The city does not have water, drinking water, I mean, and it can't be, because they were getting ready to this war together with the collaborationists, which has the name of the Oppositional Party for Life, which almost fully came to Russia's side. So they ruined the critically important infrastructure, and the source of the drinking water from the river of the Siversky Donets was cut off since the beginning of the war. It's almost impossible to restore. It costs lots of money, and also this canal is going along the occupied territory. We do not have the opportunity to restore, and they do not have such an opportunity to restore this network. Where are they trying to get water from? From the reserve pool. And I would like to emphasize that the water which they have, first of all, it's technical water, it's not drinking water, and secondly, this volume of water will be enough only for 9 months. So they're trying to provide with technical water, and they do not understand that the network needs to work as an overall common system, both the water waste, and they ruined 450 kilometers of this network, and they need to do something, but we can see that nothing is happening. So today, the people, when they wake up in the morning, they are searching for food, they're searching for water, and they do not have such an opportunity to get this water. They opened several stores, and we can see that this is kind of a torture for our people, because people do not have jobs. They involve them in these tortures to take away the rubbles or to clean the murders, the killings which they created in Mariupol city, and they don't pay money for that. They give the package of food or water, and this is how they go on torturing our Ukrainians. There is the store, you can see the food, you can see the water, you can see the hygiene, but you cannot. You don't have the money to afford yourself it. And if you look at the prices which they created there directly in Mariupol city, then it's also a torture. It's kind of a mocking thing, because prices are 5-10 times higher than the prices at the GCA, at the governmentally controlled area. And we need to understand that. The fifth thing is the torturing of our Ukrainians. And unfortunately, this is how Mariupol is living. So a very important thing is that we need to understand that both authorities, in the end of the heating season, is beginning the preparation for the new heating season. And we can see that the authorities which announced themselves as an authorities, the occupational force, the faction of Oppositional Party for Life, which came to the part of Russia, they do not prepare Mariupol for the winter. Mariupol will not have the heating season. The people who unfortunately are imprisoned there and don't have the opportunity to get to the governmentally controlled area, and that is more than 100,000 people, are staying in this as hostages, and during the winter they will not have heat. So Russia is remembered by the ruinings, destroyings, murders, looting, stealing, lies and tortures. Volodymyr, we know and we await that our armed forces will liberate our city of Mariupol, but we need to speak about the restoration of the city. Recently, there was the conference in Lugano, which was devoted to the restoration, recovery of Ukraine, including Mariupol city. Did you manage to make any deals about the recovery of the city, and what will it be, how it will take place? First of all, what we need to understand that the main task from the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, was that since the war, or since the beginning of the war, when this grief took place and we saw how it was awful in Mariupol, the occupational Russian troops came to kill us as a nation. They were ruining and killing. And for the fourth day, we had to make a deal with the Russians to begin the evacuation to save the lives of the local population. It was hard. It was almost impossible. And unfortunately, on the 13th of March, the evacuation took place. They opened the city, and the people, risking their lives without a ceasefire, had got the opportunity from Russian Federation to leave the city. So Russia opened the city and they could leave. And today people left to the governmentally controlled area, for more than 105,000 have left. This was a very narrow window of opportunities. A bit more than 100,000 people left and more than 200,000 are waiting for help. So we created such a network of centers to support Mariupol, where we discuss the issues of recovery of our city, Mariupol city, for people to see how we see and how we have to reconstruct our city of Mariupol. And the most important thing that in the end of 2021, together with our respected friends, the United States of America and our European partners, we have developed a very applied strategy for the recovery of Mariupol city, and it is focusing us for 2030. And when we met the Americans, they, as our friends, told, but we have enough time for that. So let us reconstruct, let us rebuild this strategy, let us update it, and not only recover the buildings which used to be in Mariupol, but let us create new Mariupol, let us rebuild it again. And the partners who were working with us before the beginning of the war, they agreed to work with us now, without waiting for any of the bigger strategy of the recovery of the whole country. They say, let us develop our own experience in Mariupol city, involving the experts which we had, the World Bank. And why World Bank? Because the World Bank is working with the cities which have transparency. And Mariupol in 2020 and 2021 was the most transparent city of our state. So we created the name of Mariupol as the most transparent city. So they're working with us today and they're ready to fund the expert community, which will, together with Mariupol city, with Mariupol residents in all of the centers of Mariupol, will develop the plans for recovery of Mariupol almost from scratch. We involve the experience of the World Bank from the perspective of the recovery of such cities which also were ruined during the World War II. So this is Gdansk and Warsaw, Dresden, Rotterdam, which were destroyed. And we would like this experience to be involved, to create an expert community which would provide us with several proposals, and we, together with Mariupol residents, to have an opportunity to discuss this mission, this vision, the economic state, the economic recovery, renaissance of Mariupol, the construction of each separate building, how the kindergarten will look like, the drama theater, by the way, and other buildings of the social, cultural, sports sphere, and other spheres. So we would like to create a platform for discussion for our Mariupol city and Mariupol residents to feel that they are also involved in the recovery of our city of Mariupol, and secondly, for them not to lose hope that we will definitely bring back Mariupol, and we will have Ukrainian flag above it, and we will restore it as soon as possible. We are not waiting now. In Lugano we have discussed just that we need, even now, we need to develop this strategy. And now we have already started this work. Our partners today will hire expert communities which will, together with us, will develop the higher level of the strategy for recovery of Mariupol. In 3 or 4 months, we will have the catalogue for recovery of Mariupol city, and together with Mariupol residents, we will select the proper vision, how we see new Ukrainian Mariupol. We have heard some of the statements from the Greeks, from the Italians, that they are ready to take part in the recovery. Will they also find some role and mission in the mission for the recovery of Mariupol? As we have already mentioned, the city is the most open. In 2020 and the 2021, it's the most transparent. And we also have this option left for our partners. We are involving everybody who is not indifferent for the problem which was created by Russian Federation ruining Mariupol city. We are now open for any proposals. We are ready to receive, to communicate. We are ready to create this expertise and this expert community, and together we are ready to develop any spheres to recover Mariupol, both with the Greeks and the Italians. Whoever would like, we are welcome to Mariupol. Vadym, could you please tell, don't you think that since the beginning of the heating season, which will not take place in Mariupol, we will feel the new wave of evacuation to the GCA, to the governmentally controlled area, and Mariupol residents will again come here? Yes, we understand that. We understand, we feel that. And it is important for everybody to understand that we need to help them, to support them, that our respected Mariupol residents, Ukrainians, we need to perceive them like that, who are forced to stay there in this ghetto, in this prison which was created by Russian Federation. Just reading the books of Goebbels and Hitler, they are doing whatever it was written there, and we can see it in Mariupol. Real pupils of the fascists, the pupils of Hitler and Putin, and there is no difference between Putin and Hitler. So we can see that they will do whatever they can for people to leave to Russia, for Russia, but we need to create conditions for them to leave for Ukraine. We have created this network, Mariupol, but why? Because our respected Ukrainians, our Mariupol residents, with such a task of the head of the military administration, Pavlo Kyrylenko, for them to feel that they are needed by us, by the state, that they are not alone, and we are ready to help, we are ready to support them in any issues, the social sphere, the informational sphere, any issue and point, they know where to go to and where to pose this question at. We don't always have answers, but the most important thing that they are coming and that we are developing our experience and coming back with the responses, legal questions, psychological support, the doctors are working, humanitarian component, children's rooms, and other components which are being added. We will have the daily services at Mariupol centers, the sports and cultural services. We will disseminate this network to socialize and to bring people to life back and to transform the Mariupol residents, to integrate them where they are now at. So we are speeding up with this movement. Today we opened in Lviv the 10th center of support, Mariupol, and soon we will have 4 more. So we are moving to the direction where Mariupol residents are staying. The help is coming to them. So knowing that in the autumn we'll have another wave of evacuation, we'd like to open this network as quickly as possible for the residents when they are leaving here, for them to feel the most important thing, help and support, and not to lose the faith in Ukraine. How many Mariupol residents came to the centers? Almost 100,000 of population got this important help. They got it for the first time in any issues, both social protection and legal issues and humanitarian component and doctors and psychologists and children's rooms, which is used. It has a very high demand. And we also have such a sphere as Mariupol family, where the family from Mariupol, children with their parents, have the opportunity to have some relaxation in Vinnytsia region. So we can see that this sphere is also needed, and it has high demand as well. This network has to be disseminated, and such a center, understanding that there will be another wave of evacuation of Mariupol residents to Ukraine, we would like to create it in Dnipro city at Monastyrsky Island. Are there any questions? Hello, Angelina Stroshko, Ukrinform. I've got 2 questions. First, do you know how many people are now staying in Mariupol and the filtration camps? And also, how many Mariupol residents have been deported to Russia? Were there cases when the children were deported separately from the parents? If yes, how many cases? Thank you. First, what I'd like to say, and it's also so important for us to understand equally that when we see the percentage of the people who came to Russia, went to Russia, it's not that numerous number. The percentage is not that high, only 6%. But we need to understand that this includes deportation. Those are not only the people who left for Russia, but most of all, those are deported people who were forced to leave for Russia, and now they are searching for an opportunity how to come back to Ukraine. And there are numerous cases like these, thanks to the volunteers who are helping in Russia for us Ukrainians to leave Russia and to come back for Ukraine. Those are numerous cases. First, they're coming to the Baltic states, and then they are coming to Ukraine or to Georgia and then to Ukraine. There are different ways today which are used by the Ukrainians, but most of all, what we need to understand that Mariupol residents, our Ukrainians, want to leave just for Ukraine. They would like to come back to Ukraine. And when there was the first opportunity, the first negotiations about evacuation, when the Russians opened the city and Mariupol residents got the opportunity to leave for Ukraine, Russia wanted to open just the border to Russia. But we did everything, whatever was possible, to open the border to Ukraine direction, to open the borders when they blocked those ways. But unfortunately, it took place only on the 13th of March, because the Russians didn't give the opportunity for the Ukrainians to leave for Ukraine. They were deported to Russia, but not here. As for abroad, we have approximately 40,000 of the local population after leaving for Poland and other states, mostly to Poland. Mariupol residents are staying there, but there is Germany as well. So today at the GCA, the governmentally controlled areas, we create those support centers in the biggest cities where our Mariupol residents are the most numerous. At the map of our state, we can see through the billing that there are more than 200,000 of local population. In Mariupol city, unfortunately, there is 100,000 more. We assess 120,000 of local population is staying in Mariupol. 20,000 are suburbs of Mariupol. Those are settlements and villages, the bank and the shores. And also we need to understand that the statistical data, we need to see 70% of elderly people. The people who don't have the opportunity because of their health to leave for Ukraine. And we need to create the conditions together with the Red Cross, with the UN, and we invite them to join this the solution of this problem, because in the summer, because in the autumn, we need to create conditions for the Ukrainians to have the opportunity to leave for Ukraine. And today, we need to think about that already and to create conditions to create such an opportunity for Ukrainians. So this is the statistics. Any other questions about the filtration camps? And I would add also jails, which are also working on the territory of the cities and the suburbs of the city. What is happening there? We need to understand that today they hear and see everything, they read everything, and thank you for what you are doing. These information spaces are filled with truth. And they hear, they react, they respond our truth with their lies. They are scared with what will be doing. Our armed forces of Ukraine will comply with the decree of the Commander-in-Chief, President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, of deblocking of our cities, the south of our state, and directly Mariupol state. They hear that, and they are getting ready to that. And they are working exceptionally for the internal community. We saw that at the suburbs of the city they have created the fortifications which they named residence blocks, and they wanted just to reside, for the local population to reside there, the people who were deprived of residential blocks. Why are they doing that? Because we understand that the armed forces of Ukraine, will move from that direction to deblock and liberate our cities, in particular Mariupol city. So they establish fortifications to create propaganda videos later and to show the internal consumer that they created, they constructed, and we came to ruin and to destroy. They stopped these construction sites now because they can see that they don't have enough time to construct, because we are already step by step moving forward. They are already intimidated. They again put some of the checkpoints to the city, and they can see Nazis everywhere and nationalists everywhere. I mean, of course, unfortunately, they can see Ukrainians like that, and they check everybody. The certificates which they issue in the filtration centers have some restrictions. They have time expiration dates, and when they look at those certificates, they take them back and they send people to the filtration centers. This is how, in this evacuation process, for us to understand that the filtration centers which are located in the city or beyond the city, there are 4 of them which were working during all these times. Unfortunately, they imprisoned more than 10,000 of local population. So now in jailed are the state officials, the municipal employees who were arrested by them and sent to jail. They are being tortured, and there is some information that one of the heads of one of the cities around Mariupol unfortunately died in the jail. He was imprisoned. He was announced the verdict of the so-called court of Donetsk People's Republic, and unfortunately he died there. And there are lots of cases like that, because they are pressing for people to go to the side of the so-called DPR, Donetsk People's Republic, and Russian Federation, and to work for them. People do not agree for that. They don't have health care there. And if something happens, some crisis is taking place, maybe with heart or with anything else, maybe some cardiovascular problems, there are no doctors who would save their lives. So in jails, lots of Mariupol residents have died. And in one center, they keep almost 2,000 of men. And we understand what they are getting them ready to. So we see what they're doing already. So they have announced that in September they will issue the certificates, which are so-called passports of Russian Federation, and it will instantly be a ticket to the front line. We need to understand that they are working in this direction and in any other direction involving Mariupol residents for the so-called service of the emergency service of the Donetsk People's Republics or any other sphere, and from there they will force people to go to the front line. So before that they had Donetsk People's Republics, emergency service employees who are already at the front line, and they created some kind of period of time. For 6 months, they will not invite Mariupol residents and other occupied cities, men from those cities, to their troops. But now we can see already that this date is almost really approaching. The 5th month of the war is almost over. The 6th is beginning. After that, the men will have to go to the front line. And we can see today that the local population is scared with these news, that they will be involved in the so-called Russian troops. They don't want to do that. So I would like our Ukrainians who are staying there to understand that and to leave from there to Ukraine, because it will take place. They will be involved. And what else are they doing? From the jails, they are liberating the people who we arrested because of different cases, and they would like to involve the convicts as well, for them to be kind of observers and to mention and to also to press against Ukrainians in the troops. This is how they will oppress Mariupol residents to be involved in the war. And they can see that the Russians don't want to work anymore to get at war, so they want the Ukrainians to fight against the Ukrainians. We can see it is not taking place now, but it will. So when our Ukrainians need to understand that who are now in Mariupol city, their lives are in danger now. Vadym, yesterday, all the media platforms had the picture with the boy, the adolescent from Mariupol with the Ukrainian flag at the background of the drama theater, if I'm not mistaken. And all the Mariupol residents posted this picture being inspired by this photo. Do you know anything about the guerrilla resistance within the city? I thank all of you who is working today with us, who is working with the services, some of the services, all the Ukrainians and patriots who are now doing whatever is possible to make our victory closer, to liberate our city of Mariupol. And I can see that those people are becoming more and more numerous, thanks to this heroic boy who is showing with his example his attitude towards the forces which imprisoned our heroic city of Mariupol. There's a positional platform for life faction collaborations, Kharmyshev and Ivashchenko, Konstantin Ivashchenko, who came to the side of Russian Federation. And today this boy showed his attitude to these authorities and the occupational forces of Russian Federation, and those cases are much more numerous every day. I thank all of you, and I'd like to say that soon we will do everything possible for our troops to move to the direction of Mariupol. We will liberate and recover our heroic city of Mariupol, because this is a Ukrainian city. It used to be, it is, and it will be. Thank you so much. We are believing into our armed forces, and we are getting ready to the recovery of the city. Thank you, dear friends. We had Vadym Boychenko with us, mayor of Mariupol city. I'm reminding you that our next briefing will be at 12 p.m. and we'll get to know about the situation in Lugansk Oblast. Stay with us.